You know that feeling when you pour your heart and soul into a project? You're passionate, you're working hard, but the end result just kind of falls flat? Well, for writers, it turns out there's this simple, hidden trap that so many of us fall into. So today, we're going to break down exactly what that pitfall is and, more importantly, how to climb out of it.
Okay, let's just dive right in. This illustration from our source material really captures the whole idea perfectly. You see the writer hard at work, right? But the most important detail here is that warning sign, the speech bubble with a big X through it. What this is screaming at us is that leaning too heavily on dialogue is a major, major pitfall, and that's exactly what we're here to unpack.
Think about it. When you're telling a story, dialogue feels like your #1 tool. I mean, it's how characters talk, how they express themselves. But what happens when that tool, that thing you rely on, actually becomes a crutch? What if it's stopping your story from being as strong as it could be?
And here it is, the core problem laid out for us. It's just so tempting to handle everything with dialogue, to make characters spell out their feelings, explain the plot, dump all the backstory. It feels like the easy way out, but as we're about to see from one writer's personal journey, it actually ends up creating a huge problem down the line.
To really get why this is such a big deal, let's get personal for a second. This isn't just some abstract theory. This is a real, frustrating roadblock that took one writer years to figure out and overcome. So, picture this. For 4 straight years, from 2007 to 2010, this writer was putting in the work. They were passionate, they were happy creating, but the screenplays they were finishing were, in their own words, just plain embarrassing. So you've got this massive gap between the passion going in and the quality coming out. So, what was the deal? What kept going wrong? Well, this right here breaks it down. Every single time, the problem was the dialogue. The pacing felt awkward, it was full of stuff that didn't matter, and the whole thing just had this messy, amateur feel to it. It didn't matter how much passion was there, the final product was weak because the dialogue was broken.
And look, this wasn't some quick fix. We're talking about a 4-year-long struggle of just running into the same wall over and over and over again. It just goes to show you how deep this kind of habit can get and how tricky it can be to even see what the real problem is.
This timeline really puts that struggle into perspective, doesn't it? It all kicks off in 2007, and for years, it's just frustration, dealing with the same nagging dialogue issues. It wasn't until 2010 that the light bulb finally went off, and it all started by asking one simple but powerful question.
This question changed everything. See, instead of just trying to patch up the symptoms, fixing the awkward pacing here, cutting some trivial lines there, the writer started to dig way deeper. They asked, why? Why do I keep writing like this?
And the answer that came back wasn't, oh, you're not a talented writer. Not at all. It was actually something much simpler and honestly much more profound. The problem wasn't a lack of ability. It was the entire approach, the entire mindset behind the writing process itself.
And boom, here it is. This is the big aha moment. The real root cause wasn't a lack of skill. It was the desire to write the script easily. Writing is hard work, right? And in that effort to just get it done faster, the writer was subconsciously taking the path of least resistance every time.
So how does this actually happen? Well, it's kind of like a chain reaction. It all starts with wanting to write quickly, to be efficient. Then, your brain, without you even realizing it, just picks the easiest tool in the box, and that's dialogue. Let's just have the characters say what's happening. But doing that skips all the hard work of showing instead of telling, and the result? Yep, a flawed, weak script.
And this is so crucial. Over-explaining everything with dialogue isn't just a sign of taking the easy way out. It's also a sign that you're totally underestimating your audience. People are incredibly smart. They can read subtext, they get visual cues, they can analyze a scene. They don't need it all spelled out. In fact, they enjoy the story a whole lot more when you don't.
And that really leaves us with one last big thought. This whole lesson goes way beyond just writing screenplays. It doesn't matter if you're a designer, a coder, a manager, an artist, there's always that temptation to take the shortcut, right? So the question you got to ask yourself is, what's the easy path in my own work? And is it secretly holding me back from creating something truly great?